For being here. My name is Mama, and I'm excited to have you join us today for day one of our Arts Alliance Help Desk workshop series, Sustaining and Adapting Your Creative Business. So this program has been made possible with the support of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity to help the creative sector in Illinois expand and thrive. This is part 3 of our series. Part 1 and 2 happened the last 2 months, and you can check out the recordings of those webinars on our Arts Alliance YouTube. While we get started, please feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself to the panelists, the fellow creatives here today. You can share your name, your pronouns as you feel comfortable, where you live, and your arts practice. We also have 2 ASL interpreters with us today. They should be spotlit on your screen, but if for some reason you can't see them, please use the 3 dots in the upper right of your video screen to pin them as needed. Okay, so here is the plan for today's program. We'll hear from 2 experts today who will go over key financial planning tips and tricks for creative workers. We'll save some time at the end for Q&A, and please feel free to use the Q&A button at the chat throughout the program as questions come to mind. So before we get into presentations, I just want to take a couple of minutes to give you a quick overview of Arts Alliance, especially for those of you coming to our program for the first time. We are a statewide arts advocacy organization that works to build the creative sector's power through advocacy, policy change, and connection to needed resources to improve the quality of life of communities across Illinois. Our members and network spans all arts disciplines across Illinois. Arts Alliance does direct advocacy and policy work, conducts research relevant to the creative sector, and provides technical assistance to help the creative sector access public grant funds. From fighting for and winning COVID relief funding for the arts and culture sector to helping creatives navigate public funding for the arts, we're here to ensure that institutions and individuals in the arts and culture sector can thrive. And our help desk is here to support you and connect you with resources. So visit our site and chat with one of our staff members, or check out our running list of funding opportunities on our website and get that critical technical support to successfully apply for public funding. We know that creatives downstate Illinois and on the south and west sides of Chicago face disproportionate barriers to accessing the resources they need. So we're here to connect you with the experts and the fellow community to make sure all of us can thrive. And last, before I go, our program today is a part of a series we're holding this year to give you the resources you need to start, grow, and sustain your creative venture. So recordings of our past webinars are available on our YouTube channel, and this week's series continues tomorrow and Thursday with additional workshops on copyright law, adapting to opportunities, and the challenges of AI, and more. So keep an eye out for the next part of our series on sustaining and adapting, but expanding your creative nonprofit, taking place September 23rd to the 25th with even more incredible panelists and fellow artists. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Teresa to chat about sustaining a healthy business.
Welcome, everyone. It is great to be here and to be on this particular call. I am coming from Effingham, Illinois, so downstate for some of you. And I work as a business coach. I'm going to be sharing my screen. And so let me get that all set up. And then I would love for somebody in the chat to say that they can see my screen, because that will be super helpful if you're able to see the screen. So can somebody give me a yes, we can see it. Thank you so much for those of you. So as I said, my name is Teresa McCloy. I work as a business coach. I'm also an author. So that is the creative space for me, as well as a podcaster, a motivational speaker, and all kinds of things. And I have had the privilege of this is my third workshop that I've gotten to do with the Arts Alliance. So super excited to be here for the third time in a series, and actually going to refer back as I kick off today on some of the other two series that I did. And I had shared with the girls that if you want to catch those back on the YouTube channel, you're going to hear me talk about these 7 P's of business. You're also going to hear me speak in the very first workshop on what is this idea of living from a place of rest, not rush. And so I'm kind of building on that today with this workshop as we talk from this place of strategies for building a healthy business. So Daniel's going to be sharing more of the strategic and the financial. I'm really talking about you as a person today and how you work as a business owner, really around this idea of your plan. And so in the 7 P's of business, if you look at these, this is a formula that I have for business building of having a purpose, having a plan. What is your product? What are the things that you are tracking? That might include those financials that Daniel's going to talk about here in a bit. I call them particulars. What are the processes that you have? The problems, how do you work through those problems? And then people. Those are the 7 P's. And as you look through those, you may have one or two that just stand out for you. That my business would be healthier if I paid attention to purpose, if I paid some attention to my product, or if I had better processes. So this is going to be interactive, by the way. So I would love for you to drop in the chat as you look at that and say, these are the 1 or 2 P's in my business that would help make my business healthier if I paid attention a little bit to these 2 areas. I'd love for you to just type in the chat. Is it plan? Is it product? Is it your tracking your particulars, which is your numbers? Is it really having a purpose for your business? Knowing that your mission statement, your core values, what would be the place in your business that if you focused on that, it would make your business feel a little bit healthier? So I'd love to identify that before we move on. Just drop it there in the chat if you would, if you have an answer to that. Particulars and processes. Tim says plan and people. Product. Lucinda wants to work on her product. Okay. So that's a first step, is just identifying if I'm going to work in my business, these are places that I need to focus. And as we think about having a healthier business, we want to be in this place over here where we're content, where this feels sustainable, where we're not in this place of our hair's on fire, we're running like crazy. For many of you, maybe this is something that you do on a limited amount of time. And so you have it going on in your mind all the time. It's always in the back of your head, but you're not necessarily moving forward in the way that you would like. I often say we want to live from a place of rest, not rush. As a business owner, we want it to be a joy to work in our business, not a dread, not a, why did I even say, why did I create this LLC? Why did I start this? I'm so far down the road, I feel stuck. And I want to help you define 2 different areas that you might give language to in your business. And I love to go to the theater. So I often think about it in this way. Part of growing a stable, profitable, and joy-filled business is the harmony of both the being and the doing of your business. And I call that the balcony and the orchestra pit. So if you've ever been to the theater, many of you may work in the theater, there's these beautiful theaters that have these grand balconies. And then down there, right in front of the performance, is the orchestra pit. And if you think about those two things, as a business owner, you need to sit in both seats. Sometimes we need to be up on the balcony. We need to be looking down at our business. We need to be planning. We need to be developing. We need to be dreaming a little bit. And then many times we need to be in the orchestra pit, actually doing the tasks, actually creating the business, actually creating the product, deciding on the price and all of the things that it takes to go in, the marketing, the branding, the building maybe of a website, the deciding where you're going to market your product. So in the first 2 or 3 years, I feel like a lot of the time is spent in the orchestra pit. It's in the doing, but you still have to purposely plan to sit in the balcony and listen to the music and dream of the next performance. So both are needed in your business. You don't want to get stuck in one place or the other. There's a great old business book called E-Myth that talks about the idea that you're an entrepreneur, you're a manager, and you're a technician. We often have to put on all three hats to work in our business. We have to put on that entrepreneurial business hat. We have to put on the technician hat when we're down in the orchestra. So all three hats are necessary: the technician, the manager taking care of the business, and the entrepreneur that's up on the balcony. So what would that look like in a business? I'm a real practical person. And I like to give people practical ways of looking at their business. I would love if you would drop into the chat whether your creative business that you work in, that you're working full-time or that you're working part-time in your business. Is this your full-time revenue and income, or is this something that is a part-time business for you? Those of you that are on the call live, if you can just drop in the chat, part-time or full-time, I would love to see just kind of where we're at with our audience today. And then we're going to talk about, so Victoria says full-time. We're going to talk about, Lucinda says full-time, or no, excuse me, that's Victoria, and Tara says full-time as well. So I'm going to talk about both ways. And again, this is just an example. So you can do kind of the mathematical equation to say, what would that look like? But I think for many business owners, we sometimes don't know how to spend our time. What should I be doing as I'm working in my business? Natalie, I love the honesty, making part-time income, but doing full-time work at the beginning of my business. So Natalie, this right here may apply to you for sure. If I were to say I'm working 20 hours a week. Now, I love when I work with my clients and they're building a business for them to identify how many hours am I willing to work at this? Am I willing to work 20, 30, 40? Am I a season of my life? I don't always recommend more than 40 or 45 hours in a week, because then we've gotten out of balance. But where am I at in the equation? And then what am I going to do with those hours? And this is just a simple formula of how you might work in your business. So for example, you might spend 5 hours developing your craft and your creativity. So you might continue to take classes. You might continue to hone your craft, so to speak. Now that's going to be different for each and every one of you as to what that is. Artist side, performance side, writing side. But we always want to be growing and developing in our craft. And then about 5 hours that week. Now, again, if it's a 40-hour week, it's going to be like 10 hours a week, creating products, services, preparing, actually saying, what is the product? Remember that P that I sell, and I need to create it. I need to put it together. I need to create the service, whatever that might be. And then 5 hours working directly with clients. So that means I'm actually selling and taking in money, or I'm performing, or I am writing or working on the book that I am putting out, or whatever it is, but I'm working directly, creating income, creating revenue. And then about 5 hours marketing and branding, and making a plan and putting it out into the marketplace. That might include your website development. That might include social media, those types of things. So by breaking it down like this, I can now really look at my calendar and start to plan. Am I out of balance? Am I spending too much time in one place and not enough? I work a lot with personality development as a coach, and all of our personalities have a tendency to lean towards one thing or the other. Many of us love to be with clients and we love to be in that conversation and in that selling place. And we forget to continue to develop our skills. Or we forget that we might need to do some marketing and branding. We get so into working with the clients we have, we forget that we'll need new clients. We'll need new ways of bringing in revenue, and we need to continue to talk about that. So depending on your personality, you may get stuck in one place in your business or the other. So remember, we're the entrepreneur, we're the technician, and we're the manager. All three are important. And what I often hear from clients as I work with lots of business owners is they'll say, I just wanted to do blank, whatever it is. I just wanted to be a writer. I just wanted to paint. I really didn't want to have a business. And so by looking at it in this way, you know that I get to do the things that I love, but I also have other things that I'll need to take care of and attend to. The longer that you own your business, you may be able to hire some people to do some of these things for you. You may be able to hire some people to do your marketing. You may be able to hire some people to create product and services and take care of that side. The two things you won't be able to hire is the developing of your own craft, continuing to be excellent at what you do, and working directly with your clients, depending on how you have your business set up. And if you're a business with an entire team or a company, or whether you're a solopreneur. So same exact thing happens after a first year. So this particular was off of a first year. Here's what we're doing in our first 6 months to a year of business. Here's how we might be spending our time. After we've gotten our business established, that may happen in the first year, the first couple of years, you're going to see a shift in what happens in those hours. Now, again, I'm still giving an example of a 20-hour week. So just double this if you're going to 40 hours. But again, you might not spend as much time developing your craft or creating the products or services. What's going to increase for you in a healthy way in your business is the number of hours that you're working directly with clients. So if this was a 40-hour week, it would be somewhere between 25 hours to 26 hours a week, working directly in the selling, in the performing, in the delivering of service, the deliverable, and less time in the other places. So what increases for you is the amount of time that you are working directly with those clients. So just a little formula for you as you think about, how do I stay in a healthy place with my business where I'm hitting all parts of my business. I'm doing the balcony and I'm doing the orchestra pit as I walk through. So here it is, broke out totally in a 40-hour week with 4, 4, 26, and 6. Now, what you might do, and this sounds a little crazy, but you might even put it into your calendar in a color-coded way of, all of my marketing hours are in yellow. All of my work directly with clients is in blue. All of my work where I'm creating products, so that you can actually see for yourself how it breaks down. I really love to help business owners, especially entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, work on keeping a healthy balance in their life so they don't hit burnout, so that you're able to step away from your business and able to have other things in your life besides just the work that you're doing. You came into this many times as an artist and a creative because you love what you do. And we want to keep that healthy balance for you. So here's 3 questions that you might look at as you think through, how am I staying in healthy balance? What areas do you need to realign to keep your business healthy? Are you spending too much time in one place over the other? Are you spending too much time up on the balcony just dreaming and thinking, and you're in meetings all the time, and you're always learning and dreaming about things, but you're never actually in the orchestra pit selling and marketing? What areas of your business do you need to look at from the 7 Ps of business? And I'm going to go back to those now that we've gone all the way through this. I'm going to go back in my slides so that you can see these 7 areas. And if you want to go back, you can listen to the whole workshop where I walked through all 7 of these areas. Doesn't matter what your revenue level is, these 7 areas apply all the time. We're always going back and re-looking at our plan, having a vision. What are the projects that we're working on in the next 90 days? Are we consistently meeting with a team? What are our processes? How do we track? And Daniel's going to talk a little bit more about that as we move forward, those particulars. So again, identifying those 7 Ps and which ones, so that when you come to looking at the time and how you're spending it in your business, you're able to say, this is how I'm working on, for example, my product. I'm working on developing my craft, knowing my purpose, my plan, all of those things. So those 7 Ps fit into this formula. So I'm going to leave you with these 3 questions. What areas do you need to realign to keep your business healthy? As you think about breaking it out into your calendar and having time for all of those things, are you spending too much time in one place or the other? And what areas of your business do you need to look at from those 7 Ps? Yeah, that shows up funny, doesn't it? Looks like I'm a talking head there. But if you'd like to know more, you can follow me at any of these places at the Real Life Process. And it's been a joy to be with you. I'm going to turn it back over to our hosts, and I'll be back on for Q&A time. So if you have some questions, I'll be back to answer those questions as after Daniel's presented today.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And now I'm going to pass it to Daniel Krause to discuss financial planning for creatives.
I suppose that's going to be me. How are everybody doing? So it was so lovely to listen to that presentation. Your voice is so soothing. I want to listen to you on repeat during the course of the day. Please, just be in my ear the entire time. It'd be wonderful. Let me just bring this up and start. Pause for technical issues, 1 second. There we go. There we go. So my name is Daniel Krause, a financial professional, financial advisor, and financial planner. And those 3 phrases and terms are important to understand when you're working with someone that works in finance. A professional is someone that can sell a product. An advisor is someone that can help you invest your money. And a planner is someone that can help you create a plan to move forward as you move in your life. Today, we're going to be focusing on planning for artists. I personally became a financial planner in 2020 during pandemic. I took that opportunity. Before that, I was a set designer and scenic painter from the age of 16. And it was a very long and happy and fruitful career, but too many stage pieces fell on my head, so I decided to switch. But now I get to help artists like yourselves actually get through and have a successful life. So generally speaking, when we're talking about artists, your income is going to be a little bit below the median, about $4,500 below the national median, which means that you're already, just as in a median place and an average place, you're already behind the 8 ball a little bit. One of the most typical things that artists that I work with experience is rather consistent expenses, but rather inconsistent and violent swings on their incomes. This tends to be the thing that sends people out of the artistic endeavor that they started and wanted to have their career be. So getting this under control is the big stress, is the big focus. And most of the time, artists will do one of two things with their budgeting to try to get these things under control. They'll either ignore it and just assume that they'll have enough money, just pile it up and just go for it, or they'll be so stingy and so careful that they miss out on opportunities to make their lives better. All right, there we go. So this is an example of what I'm talking about. This is actual live data of one of my clients. They gave me access to their spending transactions, and they gave me permission to show this. So you can see, if this feels familiar, you're not alone. Most artists are going to have big projects, big paydays, and then a gap. Or they'll have project, and then a seasonal gap. And during those seasonal gaps, as you can see in the early 2024, all those expenses that show up, they still need to be paid. It happens. You just got to deal with it. What else are you as an artist? You're far more likely, on average, to be college educated, which means you're also far more likely to have student debt. Now, I personally am spending about $600 a month on my student debt from when I went over to Rutgers for my master's degree. I'm going to be paying that off for another 17 years. It's just part of it. But you're also finding that people in the arts are usually afraid of the tax code, of using every opportunity that they have, of using whatever financial tools that they might have available to them. And they're certainly less likely to use corporations to their advantage. You heard speak earlier about LLCs. If you have the ability to set up an LLC or an S Corp or some other corporate structure to protect you and to manage your business, it's a significant advantage that should be explored. Why do we need to plan for our finances? Because generally we don't. Generally we don't. It's a sad fact of it. But at the other side of things, because we are so directly involved with how our money moves around, with our business, with our clients, with our art, a little bit of planning on occasion, maybe 1 or 2 of those hours that she was talking about in the weekly schedule, can make a huge difference, a significant difference, and can lead to a more sustained and flexible financial future. The unfortunate issue is that we are, as artists, and I still count myself as one, we are behind the 8 ball. We tend to make less. We tend to underprice. We tend to have inconsistent incomes. We tend to have inconsistent contracts and clients. We also tend to have, this idea that we shouldn't be paying attention to money because we're artists. We need to get away from that. We need to understand that money is a thing. It's what allows us to have flexibility and to continue our careers. And we're doing business on hard mode. Don't hobby yourself by putting illogical things or imagined things in your own way. Stop being afraid of money. It's a tool. If you're a painter, it's your paintbrush. If you're a sculptor, it's your clay. If you're a dancer, it's your dance shoes. It's a tool. It's a thing that allows you to continue your career. You need to treat your money and your work as a profession, as a career, even if it's something you're doing part-time or as a side hustle, because a lot of you are. Treat it with the dignity and respect that it requires, because it deserves that dignity and respect. But seriously, what do we do? All right, start by designing your structure. Every one of us here should be able to do the basic arithmetic to understand what you need to spend every month in order to provide for yourself. Your home, your clothes, your bills, your actual bills, not the things that you'd like to do, but the things that keep you in a home, fed, healthy, and safe. That's your nut. That's the number you need to draw out of your assets every month in order to pay. You need to, whatever else is above the nut and whatever else is not contributing to your quality of life needs to be invested. It's been in the news. Everyone's talking about inflation this and inflation that, and oh, the sky is falling, inflation. Any money you don't need for your immediate expenses, for your emergency expenses, the things that you need right now or in the next 3, 4, 5, or 6 months, anything above that number should be invested above the level of inflation. Because if it's below the level of inflation, you're just watching your dollars evaporate. And make sure that these accounts that you put together to hold your money your spending pile, your investment pile, and your emergency spending pile. Balance them out according to your own personal needs. You need to figure out what your honest value of your work is and insist that you receive it. Some artists, performers, and technicians, they have access to you. Lean on that. Use those contracts if you can. If you don't have access to union, well, figure out what other artists in your skill range and quality are getting. Find out. If I have never personally been turned down because I was too expensive. My entire career as an artist, whenever I asked for money, the answer was, cool, are you available on Tuesday? If they say yes, that means you didn't ask for enough. You should be asking for more the next time. All right. But you also need to be honest to your skill level and what you're actually providing. When you're spending for your business, you need to spend on the right tools. You need to get the best deal. You don't want to be cheap. You want to be getting exactly the value that you need to. Get as much value as you possibly can for the dollar because you work hard for that dollar and you deserve to get the value you should get for that dollar. Meaning and value per dollar spent. To focus. I'm here to tell you that yes, you can. This math is confusing. I don't get it. I understand. We got into business. We got into art I personally got into art to make beautiful scenery. We didn't get into art to deal with finances. Don't use that as a crutch. Just don't. Almost everything you need to do when it comes to money is basic arithmetic: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You are, as a population, incredibly intelligent, bright, and capable. You are free thinking. You have flexible minds. You can figure out a spreadsheet, I'm certain. Just do it. If you do a little bit and a little bit consistently, it's going to work in your favor over the long haul. Having money is not going to hurt you. Not having money may end your career. Because so many artists and performers that I personally know, 5, 6 years in, they're not getting the money they want. They go off and teach, or some other aspect of their life that's just as good. You need to build your flexibility. You need to plan for that. You need to be able to get yourself to a point where you can sustain yourself, whether as a side hustle or your main career, for 5 years, so that your network can start paying dividends on how you've grown it, so that people can start coming to you and know you as an artist that you should be. Now, what you can do today, and this is a bit of a homework assignment, figure out what your actual nut is. Feed, clothe, house, protect, as in health insurance or life insurance or car insurance, whatever else. Figure out what your monthly nut is. And then, once you've done that, and you've already got your paperwork in front of you, figure out where your money is coming from, where your money is going to, and how it gets there. And draw a map. Actually do the bubbles, do the mind map, do the cloud, do a scene. I don't care. Use clay on a sheet of board. It doesn't matter so long as it represents how your money is flowing, so you understand it better. Once you've done that, try to make it look a bit more like this. And I'll leave this up for just a moment so people can take a screenshot if they like. Money coming from your source, sales and contracts, back into your business through business activity, and then back to your source of contacts, and then back into your business. But also drawing out into your personal spending, into your automatic draws, into your savings, into your non-retirement investing, and especially your retirement investing. Look at the subtitle on that one in the bottom left. Don't die poor. Invest in your retirement, please. I don't want to have to help you when you're 65. Please, please. Make sure that your money is flowing in a way that makes sense to you. This is an example. This is not a recommendation. This is an example. You should make it work for you. You should be hiring professionals, maybe for marketing, maybe for sales, but you should definitely be hiring an accountant that understands what you do. You should definitely hire a lawyer, because art, especially things that can be reproduced or things that might be prints or be photographs online, there's a lot of legal stuff going on. If you're building something that might fall down, there's a lot of liability things you need to deal with there. And finally, if you hire someone like me, and I recommend it, an advisor will help you invest, a planner will help you plan, but ask them if they are fiduciary, if they have a fiduciary duty to you, and also have them explain what it is. You'll notice none of these people should be your cousin Bobby. I'm from Jersey. We all have a cousin Bobby, a guy down the shore. We all got a guy. I know you guys have them too. You're in Illinois, not your cousin Bobby. Find someone reputable, someone that you like, that you work well with. And any opportunity that you get, remember, this is business on hard mode. There are no rails or safety guards. Find every opportunity that you can work with to get a grant or free money or supports from any organization that you can. Arts Alliance of Illinois is fantastic for this. Always be building your network and asking for grants. Always be building your network and finding the next thing. Always be putting yourself forward so you can have more throughput in your business. Have a basic contract ready so that when the weird thing comes, you don't have to think about, well, how am I going to write this up? You can just have basic contracting go. And if they say yes to your first offer, make sure the next time you do an offer, you ask for more, but also make sure that it's an honest price and they're getting value for what they're spending. Finally, build your skills in your network. Like she said before, skills critical, network critical. We tend to drift away from them, but keep building. Keep your costs as low as you can, but do that by finding as much value for your dollar as possible, not by skipping out or making do without. Here's something important. Save for the immediate, as in your savings account or your money market. Invest for the medium, as in your brokerage account or your non-qualified investing account with Fidelity or Schwab or whatever. And then use tax-qualified retirement investing for the long term so that you can avoid some of the taxes that come. If you have an LLC, you can actually retire. You can actually put more money into your retirement than without it. But if you don't have an LLC, use an IRA or a Roth IRA and make sure you're contributing as much as you possibly can, as consistently as you can. And bear this in mind, no one is going to save you. You have to do this because no one else is going to do it. And then that's it for me. I'm happy for any questions. I know I was galloping through there and I hope I wasn't too blunt.
Thank you so much, Daniel. So we're going to open up for Q&A for both Daniel and Teresa. I don't see any questions in the Q&A feature, so let me look in the chat. Yes, this will be available for later viewing on YouTube, or Arts Alliance YouTube. This is the end of their presentations, but they're going to be available for Q&A for about the next 7 minutes.
More than happy to answer any questions about, well, anything
Absolutely.
that's dollar sign.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Do you mind if I take a swing at it?
Go
All
for
right.
it.
So as you saw from that chart with that fluctuating income, you need to have the money flowing into an account that you then draw a smaller amount out of, because you're going to have that fluctuating income. For normal Americans that just get an every 2 weeks paycheck, the guidance, the best practice is 2 months, 3 months of living expenses in a savings account. If you are experiencing high fluctuations in your incomes, as in large periods of time, you need to have a much higher amount of money piled away for your emergency cash so that you have the cushion to protect you against the buffets. Because the alternative is to use your credit card. And that is a recipe for disaster. Have a credit card available for the emergency that you can then pay off right away. But this pile of money, this is your primary. You should be building that as your focus. Take 3-6 months and focus on putting as much as you possibly can. Be a little cheap, be a little careful, be whatever you got to do to make it happen. But get that pile as high as you can so that it has some multiple of your expenses, 4, 5, or 6 months. especially for artists. If you had a consistent paycheck, you could do 3 months.
I would agree with Daniel of just knowing what your monthly expenses are in your business. And then on top of that, what do you want to pay yourself out of that? Because that's an expense as well. You're on the payroll. And, working to build that up over, a 6-month period of time so that your business doesn't have to drop. Oh, I can't afford to do that anymore. And then now I can afford it again. And now I can't. That you've got that cushion built up in your business. So absolutely building that up over time, which means, yeah, that first year may be pretty lean because the most important thing is building that into your business. Knowing as you go in, those of you that are in your first, 1 to 3 years, that, it's getting through that period of time as a business owner, that's some of the hardest. And some people would even go as far out as 5 years. I don't know what Daniel thinks, but those first, 1 to 5 years are the foundation that you're building for your future. So, yeah.
And to follow on with that, if you have your incomes going into your business inside a corporation, first and foremost, your only incomes are what you draw out of it as your pay or your owner draws. So you have a very careful way to define how much you actually have as income each year. If you need to go below a certain tax bracket or above a certain tax bracket, you have a lot more control if you keep the money in the business. I also want to say, if you end up needing to use debt, interest that you pay on debt, I like to think of as the fee we pay someone for the honor of owing them money. I'm sure Teresa would give me a much better rate if I had a pile of money that I would like to owe her, and I was willing to pay her the interest instead.
Mhm.
Be flexible. Flexibility is the key. Be pursuing flexibility.
Very good. Any other questions or comments or discussion that anyone would want to have? I think we have just a few more minutes. Appreciate your listening.
I love that about the teacher and artist and the coach and the DJ. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
On
Does
that,
anybody have any questions about retiring as an artist or
Wow,
health
there's a can of
insurance
worms
as
he's
an
willing to
artist?
go.
sure, I'd like to know about retiring as an artist.
Okay, let's say that you don't have a LLC, in which case you should really think about that. But if you do not have an LLC, you still have access to the IRAs, which are individual retirement accounts. IRAs are traditional and Roth. A traditional IRA, you put $7,000 in this year, which is a big push, I know. You get a deduction on your taxes of $7,000. It then grows tax-free throughout your entire life. And then when you take money out, you get taxed on it as income. With a Roth IRA, you don't get a deduction upfront. You're just putting the money in. It does grow tax-free over time, but then it's not taxed when you take it out in retirement. Mathematically, they're effectively the same. There's not a whole lot of difference between them. There are some edge cases where it makes sense, but it really is just, would you prefer to have a tax deduction or would you prefer to have tax-free in retirement? Your pick. Do it automatically every month. You do not want to miss out. The best time to have started these things was when you're 18. The second best time is today. The third best time is tomorrow. The worst time is when you're 65. And I've worked with clients that have done that.
I think the thing that I would say as an artist, as a writer, as a musician, I work much more in the business space, but is sometimes our mindset is, well, I'm going to want to do this forever. And, I'm a creative, so I'm going to always want to create. And that may be true. I'm 63. And if you'd have told me even 5 years ago that I'd want to slow down, I'd want to travel, I'd want to be a grandmother, all the things that this season of life is bringing me, I would have said, oh, I'm going to be a creative forever. And yet, so I totally agree with Daniel, planning for the future. If you decide to continue to create forever, great. That's awesome, but you'll feel much, we just don't know physically and all kinds of things, what life's going to bring us in that second half of life. So plan like you are going to retire, but you get to choose whether you actually do or not and what that looks like, but plan it financially.
And when you do put those investments together, make sure you have a diversified,
Mhm.
broad-based, market-focused, growth-focused investment. I'm, it's I can't make any recommendations because none of y'all are my actual clients, and that would be against my rules. But as long as you are investing in as many facets of the economy as you possibly can, you're going to have better results. The overall stock market returns between 8 and 12% each year. The number of drawdowns are far fewer than the number of increases. It just makes sense to have a significant portion invested in the stock market. Please do it.
Yeah.
Please do it. Additionally, make sure that you have all the business insurance, liability insurance that you need to be a working artist. Things happen. If you are able to afford it, some kind of disability benefits somewhere in your mix, because fingers break and backs have problems and knees go bad, and any other things that you might need to do to protect your family, all of which gets a lot easier inside the wrap of corporation.
Yes. And when I was sharing and I was talking about how you put it together healthily in time, I think one of the things, when you think about developing your skill, one of those is also educating yourself on all the things that Daniel's talking about. So where can you learn how to have your money that you've worked so hard for make money for you and do those things? So I think one of the things there's so much out there now that we can educate ourselves. Uh-oh, he's going to the whiteboard. We're in trouble. But where we can educate ourselves on, investing. And there you go. He just gave you a website,
Except it's
investor.
backwards. Investor.gov.
No, it's not. We see it right. So
Okay,
you're
good.
But yeah, invest in learning for yourself how your money, because I think as entrepreneurs, as solopreneurs, that's one of the things that we stay in that learning mindset of, okay, I've worked hard to earn this. Now, think of it as that creative way of I get to figure out how to diversify my portfolio and how to do those things. Use that creative mindset that most of you have to have fun with it.
Oh, one small thing that some artists may not be aware of, if you are not paying your Social Security taxes because you're an artist or what have you, if that's not being paid because of the specific way you're paying your taxes or getting your incomes, that may impact your 10 quarters of work to qualify for Social Security.
Mhm.
So, in addition to investor.gov, SSA.gov, Social Security Administration.gov. It's the only place on the internet you should be putting your Social Security number in. That you're able to actually pull your current statement for your Social Security and make sure it's on track and it's what you expect.
Yeah.
But I'm not kidding about getting an accountant. I'm not kidding about getting a lawyer. I'm not kidding about having an honest conversation with an advisor, because a small moves, Teresa knows this as well, small moves make all the difference.
Mhm.
And a little bit of money, especially when you're younger in your career or in your mid 30s, are geometrically more powerful than when you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s.
Yeah, I can't say that enough. In those 7 P's of business, there's a place in almost all of those where you need advice. You need a financial planner, you need a CPA, you need an attorney. And sometimes we think as a solopreneur, especially, you need a team. You need advisors that you can go to as a business owner. It doesn't mean you have to pay them every single month, but you need someone that you've developed a relationship with, that if something comes up legally, I know they're going to have some more workshops on intellectual property and copyrights and AI. You need it as a creative. You need to have a team of people that can advise you on those things. Can't say that enough.
And if you have a family and if your income is helping to support them, if you're in decent health or even poor health, go to some institution, some company, and get some cheap term that'll cover your family's expenses for a year or two. so that you don't have to worry, because people get hit by buses. I've had more clients than I really care to talk about. Well, I get the death claim and I have to process that after I talked to them previous week. So these things happen. Think about it, take action, protect.
Protect yourself and protect your, they're going to talk about this, but what you're creating.
Yes.
Protect what you're creating, whether that's a book, whether that's, a product, that the intellectual property part. And I'm so glad they're going to go into that. So
We have one question from Alpha. I like the 7 P's of business Teresa presented. I'm a research and development consultant consulting for a museum, and they are drowning because there is no business plan in place. What can I do to protect myself from going under with them as their client?
Daniel, I'll let you go first.
All right. So you are the client, you are being paid by them, or
Are you a contractor? Alpha? Yes. Okay.
So they are paying you. So I would assume that a significant amount of your income is based around their monies that are coming in, correct? Okay, cool. So if you know the length of the contract, roughly, you should be able to estimate how long that contract is. Parse that income out over a period of time. It may be coming in 1 or 2 checks, but only allow yourself to draw out that money over a period of time that represents a insert period of time here, 6 months, 10 months, whatever the contract length actually is. The key to a lot of flexibility is to take instantaneous hits of expenses and draw them out so that they're easier to manage and you can have less problems. So if you can take an instantaneous hit and get it drawn out over time through how you manage your money, either by putting into a big account and then paying yourself out a little bit at a time, or using, don't do this all the time, using some kind of business loan or short-term, like a week and a half credit card debt, to make sure that that instantaneous hit is able to be paid off as the money comes in. That adds to your flexibility. Move towards flexibility. Avoid putting yourself in high interest debt. If you are in high interest debt, get that financed out to something that's lower interest. Get high expenses paid out over time. If you can work it into your contract with them that they pay you out on a regular basis, that's better.
I would, good for you for noticing that they don't have a business plan. And as a contractor, and when I work with people that are on contract work, you have the option to not work with them. You're a contractor. So
I used to love firing clients.
Yeah. So, as a contractor, you get to decide whether you renew that contract or not based on what you feel like is their strength as a company. I see it in so many, I don't know if the museum is a nonprofit or not. So many nonprofits do not have a good business plan. They do not have something as simple as what I presented as the 7 Ps. They don't have a common language. So you could encourage them to work towards that. And, but as a contractor, you get to choose. And I would say to all contractors I work with, if possible, don't have one contract. Have more than one contract. That's why you went into contract work. And I'm not a lawyer, so don't quote me on this, but technically as contractors, that is how a 1099 contract works, is we're to have more than one contract. So just make sure you're in compliance as a contractor and that, that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, because I've seen many people do that, which as an employee, we're always in that state. But as a contractor, that's the freedom that you have. But yeah, encourage them to have a business plan and to do something as simple. Great. Good for you. Yes, it is a nonprofit. I have several contracts to out of state. Smart for you, Alpha. Good for you. You don't have it all in one basket, but I can tell that you're concerned that they don't have a good enough business plan that you could use that income or lose that revenue.
And honestly, if you think that a client that you have is is in risk of not paying you or in risk of not being able to
Mhm.
have the cash flow. Well, business on hard mode. This is capitalism with the rails off. You need to make sure that you take what assets you have in your control and structure them in a way that if they don't pay you on time, or if they take 9 months to pay you, that your business doesn't suffer. You can still get through. It'll be hard, it'll be rough, it'll be painful. I'm not going to lie about that. But if you think that something's going to go wrong with their payment, make sure that you're not in a place where it will actually hurt you. There was something else that came to mind, and it was something off of what you said, Teresa. It was
And
so good.
I will say this, and I love where you're going with this, Alpha. You're making sure you have a good business plan. So, when we're contractors, when we're independent, you make sure you have your 7 piece in place. Because all that Daniel was saying earlier about, paying yourself on a regular basis and all of that. And I don't know that they have had any workshops. Maybe some of the hosts can tell us on contract work, because that's a whole thing in itself, is setting up a good contract, making sure that you're paid, you know, in a regular, but not at the end of the contract, that type of thing. Because yeah, sometimes nonprofit work, especially, they'll try to put you off on when
And it
you're
just
paid, how
occurred to me,
often.
Teresa,
Monthly retainer, good for you. It sounds like you're doing a lot of things right. So go ahead, Daniel.
with a monthly retainer, that's fantastic. As long as they're paying you on time and regular, that's wonderful. What I was going to say is that if you wind up having one of my clients right now has this, he's doing a graphic design work for a couple of real estate properties, and one of his properties is 75% of his business's income.
Mm-hmm.
That's a time when you start to hire people in.
Yes.
If you have that much of your business relying on you personally being able to deliver, it's time to start allocating some of your resources to hiring other people in, because you have enough people, you have enough work. It's time to get other people involved. Maybe you hire another artist. Maybe you hire someone that's real. If you're doing pottery, maybe you hire someone that's really good at glazing and you trust to do the firing for you. Diversify so that you and your work as an artist can be amplified.
So you can get more contracts
and get more contracts.
So that you're not all in, outsource as you start to grow, outsource. I have coaches that coach for me so that I can do things like this. You become the CEO of your business, more of that, part of that business rather than just I do the service. So that's great advice as you grow.
And if anyone's wondering, the most 1099s I had in a single year was 54. So yes, you can have more than one contract. So do it. Multiple income streams is a good thing.
Yes, for sure. I know we're at a time, so we're
at time.
Great discussion.
Thank you to our speakers and all of you for spending your morning with us. We're going to drop a few links in the chat. So if you have any questions that come to mind later, you can send them to us through the help desk. Also, the recording of this program will be on our YouTube page shortly, and you can find all the past programs there, some included the ones that Teresa spoke about, if you want to just get caught up on all parts of the series. We want your feedback. So if you could please take a couple of minutes to take our survey so that we can improve our programming. We'll have that link in the chat as well. And tomorrow we are continuing our series. So please sign up for day 2 with the link in the chat. And you can stay up on top of all of our programmings by signing up for our newsletter. That's the best way to see what we have in the pipeline and keep informed about what we have going on. And yeah, I hope you can join us for one or more of these programs. So thanks again for being here, everyone. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.